Good morning, everybody. TGIF, we are going to send you off into your weekend with quite a show. Here's what we have coming up. Russell Westbrook, he is headed to Denver. We will get into all of that. Plus, WNBA takes center stage. Okay, it is All-Star weekend, kicks off this evening. We'll talk Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese. Plus, we have a stacked guest lineup. We're going to have New England rookie Kaden Wallace and Olympian Anna Hall joining us. So let's get into it.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to GoJo and Golic. Mike Golic Jr., Mike Golic Sr., Jesse Cofield, who you just saw holding it down at the DraftKings studio in Boston. We got a great show for everybody. As always, make sure you download, subscribe, rate, and review us. Leave us a 5-star rating and check us out live Monday through Friday from 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern on the DraftKings network. We will get to the Denver Nuggets at an interesting crossroads in their careers and some struggles out at the open right now at Royal Troon. But I'm amazed we're even here because I don't know what the betting odds on this would have been, as the nation is sitting around right now trying to figure out whose technology works where. There's some massive outage with all the Microsoft 365 programs because of some third-party software company, that I would have found out about all of this, that I would have received technological news about the struggles of use of technology from no one other than my father at like 4 o'clock Pacific this morning here. Dad, you're a new man right now. I'm amazed.
Yeah, I was just wondering if anybody was going to answer me, or if we, in all honesty, I was kind of hoping our show was knocked off air and I get a 3-day weekend. Not going to lie. Listen, you want me to be truthful? You know, I sit there and turn on and, look to watch SportsCenter on ESPN, and SportsCenter wasn't on. They were showing the morning show instead. And that's where I heard about between Microsoft and the cyber company CyberStrike, all the problems that they're having, from airlines to hospitals to banks. I'm like, ooh, first thing I thought, maybe I got a 3-day weekend. Let me text our guys and see if we're having any issues. And I get the reply, oh, no, we have no issues. I went, not going to lie, quietly, I went, damn.
Guys, this seems like the type of moment where we should all go to the bank and just attempt to withdraw like $1 million. Because I think this is when the bank's having issues and like the ATM might just like give you way more than's in your account. Should we try that?
They're weak right now. We need to strike while the iron is hot here, and maybe we can have 3-day weekends for the rest of our lives. I do think it's interesting that they're trying to pass this off as, some security company tried to push out an update and then it crapped everything out. EA Sports College Football 25 released nationwide and worldwide today. Let's call a spade a spade. We know exactly what's going on here. They weren't ready for the moment, and now everything's gone to hell because everyone wants a 3-day weekend so they can get started with their dynasty right now, which I got to tell you guys, UTSA back on track. We had a big time get right game against North Texas. My running back had over 350 yards rushing in this game. National Player of the Week, might be up for the Heisman after this. It's been a hell of a 24 hours.
We're proud of you.
So, yeah, really, really proud of you to work your thumbs and fingers. That's such a great job. Do you have the leading rusher in the nation still?
At this point, yes. And after this last game, my top 2 rushers combining for over 500 yards and 6 touchdowns, we decided to get back to what we do best. We were trying to lean into all this highfalutin passing attack, running this modern offense. We're here to get 4 yards in a cloud of dust. Not 3 yards in a cloud of dust, because then all of a sudden we're staring at 4th and 1. We're going 4 yards in a cloud of dust on every play. And so far, so good, getting back to that grit and grind mentality. So, Dad, speaking of grit and grind.
Yeah.
Oh, my God, look at this. Hold on. There's a quick shout out to my guy right there, Robert. Hard work pays off, man. I got the alert originally that he was just the American Athletic Conference Player of the Week. Because spoiler alert, if some of you don't know, UTSA is now in the AAC. And then I get the real National Player of the Week one. I'm waiting to find out that he's going to be a Heisman finalist. I really want this trip to New York for my guy, Robert Henry. He's out here grinding.
So again, just so everybody understands, this is all make-believe. This all isn't real, correct? So just so we're all on the same note here. Right?
I mean, I hold the controller. It is real. I see it with my own eyes.
This
so
is
I don't
like
know
when
what's
someone's
not
an
real about
Instagram
that.
model, and it's like, but what happens when Instagram's down? Now what are you? So what happens?
Exactly.
When the game is put away.
When the game crashes, I am no longer a coach then. But right now, I am a coach leading my troops, upgrading my skill set, going on the road and recruiting. We've secured a lot of commitments along the offensive line, which is great because we know building outside of the Power 5 level, one of the biggest discrepancies is along the line of scrimmage. So we're going to lean into that identity.
Listen, you're an
What's
Instagram
the most
influencer. Okay,
so far
your job is
you've
very
sat
important.
in front of that console in one stretch in your make-believe world?
I don't think it's been more than 2 hours. I've been pretty good about digesting this relatively slowly. I use it like a little treat where I have to get my work done in the day before I go and spend my time coaching up the kids. So it's a process. I won't bore you guys with it because like Nick Saban, he understands the process isn't always sexy, but it's about going out here, doing your job day after day, putting the team first. It's we, not me. All the things that we know about sports that I'm just trying to apply to not only go out here and coach these guys, but I want to be a leader and molder of young men. I see myself as more of a teacher than just a coach.
As you sit in your place alone and make believe coach and teach these kids, is it possible at any time in the next couple of minutes we can actually talk about real sports, things that are really going on?
Yeah, I can do that for you. Listen, easy transition right here. While I am trying to find a way to infuse this roster with enough talent to get over the hump, one team in the Denver Nuggets who's been to the mountaintop at this point might be hustling backwards a little bit right now. We get the announcement yesterday that the Clippers and Jazz have agreed to a sign and trade deal involving Russell Westbrook, who's expected to then take the buyout and join the Denver Nuggets. And as Utah waves the former MVP. Now, Dad, we've talked a little bit about the Nuggets already this offseason, but seeing this kind of move here, I look at Russell Westbrook, at this point in his career as a little more of a locker room force I would love on a younger team. Because all the things he represents are great for trying to instill the right culture, right? The way that he attacks each and every day, all the things that we've heard about him and work ethic behind the scenes. He seems, for the most part, beloved as a teammate for all those things, but high-end production. I mean, a guy that was at one point, once they got James Harden this year, relegated to the bench. I don't know how that fits into the Denver Nuggets picture as a value add on the court in the way that they need at this point in an ever more competitive Western Conference.
Well, I mean, and you already look at what Denver did, getting rid of a starting guard there as well. And the backup point guard and Reggie Jackson gone as well. Jamal Murray, we know, has had the injury situation going on, and they're giving up, draft picks for a big man as well. Deron Holmes, who tore his Achilles, by the way. So I don't know what direction they're going. Russell Westbrook, it's amazing. What a career. I mean, think about it again. He and James Harden and Kevin Durant were on the same team in Oklahoma City. He was in Oklahoma City for the first 11 years of his career. And then in the last 5 years, he's been on 5 teams: Houston, Washington, the Lakers, and the Clippers, and now going to his 6th team in Denver. So this is a guy that all of a sudden we started talking about, wow, when he was averaging triple doubles, something hadn't been done since Bob Cousy or no, it wasn't Bob Cousy. Oh man, tell me I'm drawing a blank on that already. But I mean, the first triple doubles in decades that he had. And now he is now going to be relied on as that backup guard to come in. And as you said, energize. I do think it will be good for younger players in the locker room, but I'm not sure net positive,
but this
net
Denver
negative.
Nuggets team is But this Denver Nuggets team's a mature roster, Dad. I guess that's why I look at it. Like, this is a team that's one. You're not trying to come in here and after everything's been burned down by some prior regime, rebuild it or take it to one of these young teams that we've seen like Detroit or Houston and infuse some of that into the locker room so you show these guys work habits. The Denver Nuggets won a title 2 years ago. They lost KCP, like you mentioned, this offseason, and they needed to recoup more firepower around Nikola Jokic because you look around the rest of the Western Conference, And the Oklahoma City Thunder aren't slowing down. Like, it's theirs until further notice after this offseason. The Dallas Mavericks made that big leap last year when all of a sudden you started getting better stuff around Luka Doncic and they bring Clay over. So I just look at relative to those, and we talked about it. It's not even like we looked at the Dallas move to bring in Klay Thompson and said that's a world beater move that gets them over the hump. But you can at least see the thought process there with what Clay affords them spacing as a shooter around Luka Doncic. I don't know if I see the same signs of why this would be useful to Denver when I look at the Russell Westbrook's acquisition here.
And it was Oscar Robertson who I was trying to think of before. I gotta believe it's just for when, you know, the second team needs to go in and hold down the fort when the starters are out. I mean, that's what you're looking for with Russ, right? I mean, that's where you are right now. You want to be able to hold the fort down when he comes in and he fills in. I mean, that's been the role. So I don't know where are we net positive, net negative of what they lost and what they brought in. I got to believe you're more on the net negative side of things at this point of where they are. And we talk about the West and how deep the West is. So it seems when we started thinking, oh, you know, with Joker, they'll be back, you know, after winning the title and then getting knocked out last year, they'll be back there. But you got to wonder if they're a little thin in the depth. That's just something that they were trying to bulk that depth up a little bit, but is it going to be enough?
I think looking at them, yeah, absolutely. They did not recoup what they've lost so far. I think we've seen for the last couple of stops, KCP probably undervalued overall in terms of what he brings to these teams. And Russell Westbrook probably overestimated at this point. And again, it's not to diminish everything you mentioned with the career or again, what it sounds like he is lauded as a teammate and what he does for a locker room. It's just the reality of that for this Denver Nuggets team that right now on DraftKings Sportsbook, I believe is the third best odds to win the title going into next season behind Boston and the Oklahoma City Thunder, all of a sudden you can kind of feel the door opening up. And now, listen, Nikola Jokic is 30 years old. He's got MVPs out the wazoo. He's got the NBA championship there. But more than anything, Dad, with him, and I think if you're the Denver Nuggets, as you go about team building, I think you are allowed to go through that process a little differently because to this point, we have not seen any evidence that you've got a superstar that's going to start banging on stuff if he doesn't think that you're going out and doing right by him. We've watched with Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks for years now. Every few off seasons, we get to that point where it looks like, hey, the Bucks might not be doing enough, and some piece comes out with Giannis doing a sit-down interview where he vaguely says, well, I'd like to finish my career in Milwaukee, but if their desire to win championships and mine don't line up, I could finish somewhere else. I remember he started name-checking the Bulls the last time this came up before they got Damian Lillard, so he's displayed that. We've certainly seen between James Harden and Kevin Durant and all these guys that we talk about as the posters for this, that's been a factor that those teams have had to contend with. And the Denver Nuggets, part of the reason they got to the point where they won the title at all is because Nikola Jokic does not seem to care about making noise on these things. So I don't see it having any negative repercussions in terms of that with this team. It's just more, are they going to, we thought they were getting ready for this stretch run where it could be multiple championships. We could set up for a mini dynasty run with this Denver Nuggets team. And now it seems like they might be ceding ground to some of these young up and comers.
Well, and so that's why I wonder, you just read the odds. Do you believe it as far as the West breaking through what it has for the league according to these odds, the West, it's Oklahoma City, Denver, Minnesota, Dallas, the Lakers. I mean, I don't know if I would have Denver second right now, you know, between Minnesota and Dallas, quite honestly.
Denver's not second. They're behind Oklahoma City. It's Boston, Oklahoma City, Denver, and then Philadelphia.
You're not listening. No. You're not listening to what I'm saying. In the West.
I'm not.
In the West. It's Oklahoma City. It's Denver. It's Minnesota. It's Dallas. So my question is, would you have Minnesota and Dallas ahead of Denver right now? Because they're behind them right now. I would almost put them ahead of Denver at this point.
I don't know if I'd put Dallas in front of Denver just yet. Minnesota, just because Minnesota was specifically built to beat Denver. seems like a little bit more of an enticing one. Anthony Edwards is on such an upward trajectory. I might be more inclined to do them. I think Dallas hit a really good run. I want to see them do it 2 years in a row. And I understand you could say the same thing about Minnesota, right? 2 years ago when Rudy Gobert first got over there, it didn't look like we'd be having these conversations around them. But again, the Anthony Edwards thing's been happening. And so that really elevates the way that we talk about that team. We'll wait and see if they do anything with Karl. But yeah, no, I think that one would be the interesting flirtation. But Dad, the strength of Nikola Jokic is going to have them right in the mix. But to your point, it is going to be, what are they able to do in the minutes he's off the court? It's becoming steadily a LeBron James problem for that team.
Yeah, it is. It seems like they're taking a step back. When we thought, just what you said earlier, could they be a team that could win a couple over a few years? Certainly when you have Jokic, you have the chance to do that, and Murray if he stays healthy. But I don't know. I feel like they've taken a little bit of a step back here.
I would agree. I think so too, or at the very least been stagnant in a way that I don't think is going to be rewarded for them come the season. And again, Jokic could go out there and be the second coming of Christ the way he's been for the last few seasons and continue to play at that high level. Again, he's 30 years old, so he's just now getting to that point where maybe you're getting closer to that back end of the real super prime window that we hear about players from like 27, 28, 29 into 30, but again, based on his style of play, it's not like physical prowess has ever been the thing that's been the hallmark of his game. So I'd imagine that's going to age really, really well for him. As you look around the rest of the West, Dab, with that in mind, is it still Oklahoma City is the favorite? Like, I think I understand why Boston is the favorite to win the title next year again. Yeah. They were overwhelming over the course of last season. They were overwhelming through that postseason run that we understand. Until the finals did not really require the same level of resistance to be met when they faced all these other teams without their star players all throughout this. No Jimmy Butler, no Tyrese Halliburton, the Knicks falling apart, all the things that we saw in their road that were a factor, not the only factor. Oklahoma City, meanwhile, addressed their biggest need this offseason. I understand signing Isaiah Hartenstein isn't necessarily a championship coronation, but it was just so specific to what they needed opposite Chet Holmgren in the middle of that team that I do take all the momentum they had last year, the SGA jump, and say, hey, I could see them right side by side with Boston in terms of teams I absolutely believe should win a title next year.
Yeah, I leaned a little bit to Philly. I think Philly did exactly what they needed to do as well. Now let's see what they can put around or keep around those three and Maxey and George and Embiid. And you're certainly crossing your fingers with Joel Embiid as far as health, but I think that could be as good a lineup as any. And they have to challenge, obviously, I think it's through Boston before we worry about the NBA title. And that's the goal of every Eastern Conference team. That's who you got to get through. But I really like what they did. And I think given they could stay healthy, or I should say be healthy at the right time, because to sit there and say you're healthy through the whole 82-game season is very, very difficult to do. But if you can be healthy at the right time, and that's if you're hurt early but healthy by the playoff time, I do think that's a team that could make a hell of a lot of noise.
It's just a team that you're asking a lot of the parts involved to do things that we have never seen. Ask Joel Embiid to stay healthy throughout the entirety of a postseason run, and ask Paul George to contribute meaningfully to getting over the hump for a championship effort. Like, that is just not something that we've seen that player do yet at any point in his career. The outstanding factor is, like we talked about with certain players making that climb up at this juncture, you got Tyrese Maxey ascending, and we don't know. Have we tapped out on that? Is this as high as that thing goes? Can it go even higher with him? Because I'm amazed Milwaukee at fourth in the odds down in the Eastern Conference. Now, I saw Chris Middleton had, I think, a few surgeries this offseason, who battled injury for a lot of last year. And I think quietly is the straw that stirs the drink on that team. We talked about this the other day, Dad, when you weren't on the show, but the fact that last year, record-wise, they were fine, and then Doc Rivers took over after the frustration with Adrian Griffin defensively mounted, and all of a sudden some things look different. You are going into year two with Dame and Giannis working together, so I do think that could be a team that maybe we're discounting a little bit just because last year ended on such a sour note.
Well, it did, and we kept saying, how will this team be when those three are together? And those three were never really together on a consistent basis. The two guys I look forward to seeing how they're going to help their team is Paul George, certainly every day, or most of the time on the court, and then Klay Thompson, over in Dallas, to be that guy that can drop the three. With when Doncic and Kyrie have the handle on the ball and kick it out to him. We'll see. I probably, Mike, I looking at those odds, I probably stop at 8 deep. I guess that's good. 8 deep of teams that could win the championship, right? I would go all the way to Milwaukee, and they're 8th right now. Boston at 1 and Milwaukee at 8. I could see any one of those 8 teams. It wouldn't stun me if any of them pulled it off.
Absolutely. And the fact that the 8 teams that you just mentioned includes the New York Knicks in the year of our Lord 2024 is just a great sign of how far we've come. The fact that that's a team I actually look forward to. Similar vibe turnaround to like the Houston Texans, where now all of a sudden they've got all this intrigue, they've got all these darlings. It's a great time. But coming up next, let's head across the pond to talk about some star names not aging so well as the Open Championship gets going next year on GoJo and Golic.
Welcome back to GoJo and Golic. Jesse Cofield here alongside Mike Golic Jr. and Mike Golic Sr. And fellas, we got some big names struggling at the Open Championship. So Tiger posted an 8/79 in the first round of the 152nd Open. So it left him in danger of missing the cut in a third straight major for only the second time in his career. Here he is reflecting on that.
I didn't do a whole lot of things right today. Made that putt on the third hole, and then I think I had three putts today. Didn't hit my irons very close, and didn't give myself a whole lot of looks today. So, yeah, I'm physically feeling a lot better than I did at the beginning of the year. After the end of last year, it was tough, and then I haven't played a whole lot, and I think that as the year has gotten better, the year has gone on, I have gotten better. I just wish I could have played a little bit more. But I've just been saving it for the majors just in case I do something pre-major and then take myself out of it. So hopefully next year I'll be a little bit better than this year.
All right, guys, so update on him today. He's 12 over through 13. And you heard him say, yeah, senior, you heard it. You heard him say, hopefully he does better next year.
I hate to say he's now 13 over. He just bogeyed that hole. So he is now 13 over. Listen, I hope he keeps playing. He's as he said after the Colin Montgomery comment, where a lot of people are saying, oh, maybe Colin was right. He should. He's earned it. So I hope he does keep playing. But this course, Mike, I've only golfed links overseas once. Last year, your mother and I went to Ireland for the Notre Dame game, and I golfed on 2 links course. And listen, I'm a hack, as I just showed in the American Century Championship, that I'm a hack. And then a hack going to play a links course. And the first day I played the first links course I played was like it is at the Open. It was blustery and spit and rain. And I sucked even worse. So I can't even fathom what hacks like us would do on a course like this. And this is, again, what I like. I don't like the tournaments where guys are 25 and 26 under, unless a couple of them are and it's competitive to the end. I love when they're struggling. There's 154 players here. 15 are under par. That's it. And the best under par right now is Shane Lowry and Daniel Brown at 5 under. So, I mean, it's a struggling course. It's a hard course. And that's what I love seeing pros when they have to struggle. But I just couldn't fathom teeing off on this thing and just how bad it would be. It's just horrible out there. What they're golfing at. I just think of a regular person like us golfing in that. And thank God we had caddies out there, because they have eyes like hawks, because my ball rarely hit the fairway. So they could find it. I mean, and luckily they have people out there, because that gorse is just awful if you landed it out there.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, if you look out the native stuff, and you saw that all day yesterday, if you wind up in that native grass, the course can instantly become a nightmare. It's a course that already plays a lot easier on the front nine. So when you get all that weather and blustery wind, like, I'm not surprised that Tiger Woods is doing poorly in this. A guy whose body hurts like Tiger does, who we talk about all the time. You need a warm, not very hilly course for Tiger, so he's not going to get beat up with just the war of attrition on the day. Some blustery, kind of rainy, windy links golf course was never going to be the medicine for this guy at this stage with his body. So I can't sit here and act surprised that Tiger is struggling with his dad. And the other thing he mentioned is he just doesn't get to play a ton of golf. I heard him on the Golf Network yesterday talking about this relative to Bryson DeChambeau, who's sitting there at 5 over par right now. And they said with the live golf schedule, you don't just get to take time off and go practice for specifically this course. Bryson talked to the media yesterday after the round and said, I didn't grow up playing a lot of links golf courses. I don't have a ton of experience with this. And it's like a lot of other things. You hear this all the time with football coaches. They say it's the sport where the only way to get better is by playing football. Well, with golf, it's the same way. And so Tiger, even with all the rounds that he's internalized, with a course that is this specific and requires you to be this creative, it can be a detriment to just not have enough time to play as much as he used to be able to.
It's fun to watch again. I'll be watching all weekend. As I mentioned, Shane Lowry, Daniel Brown, both 5 under, Justin Thomas 3 under, and then there's 4 guys at 2 under. The projected cut right now is +4, and the big names that you're looking to try and make it. Phil Mickelson has 2 holes to play, and he's 5 over. So Phil may be playing the weekend. Then you have Hideki Matsuyama is 5 over. Guys that are struggling. Bryson DeChambeau is he's at 5 over, but he's got a whole round to play. So he certainly could be there for the weekend, though he has struggled on links courses.
Oh, do we?
I was going to say, can we get to the sound of Bryson yesterday? Because everyone's been talking. We've had all this talk after everything that happened at Pinehurst and how likable Bryson DeChambeau's been lately.
Yes.
When things are going well. When things started to go poorly yesterday and he got punched in the mouth a little bit by the Scottish course, all of a sudden that nerd started to pop back out. Listen to Bryson doing the nerd correction on the incorrect pronunciation of the word.
When there's so many measurements going on in your mind.
There's not that many. There's a couple.
Like,
there's a couple, but not that many.
Many things that are maybe incalculable, if that's
Incalculatable.
There you go.
I'm going to go figure it out. It's something equipment related. It's probably something along those lines, but felt like I was swinging it somewhat okay. It just, the ball wasn't coming off in the window that I normally see.
But actually, does this make him relatable? Because incalculatable is not a word. So is it more relatable to us? He's like correcting someone being like incalculatable, and that's wrong because it's not a word.
So incalculable is the word, right?
Yes.
That was actually
it's
correct.
absolutely a word.
Yes.
So the reporter
And
was
incalculatable
correct,
is not.
Yeah.
And Bryson corrected him incorrectly.
Correct.
So there you go. And he did it so quickly, like, oh yeah, I know what it is because I'm a measurement guy, and he was wrong.
One
Yeah,
of us, you know?
Exactly. It's exactly right. Yeah, the course got him day one, no doubt about it. So he has the possibility of coming back. John Daly shot an 82 and he withdrew. Ernie Els shot an 82 the first day, he withdrew. So this is a tough course. And if you have any kind of a nick or an injury at all, man, it is going to get highlighted out here in the crappy weather.
I will say the interesting stat I heard yesterday on the Golf Channel relative to Royal Troon itself. This golf course is now hosting this the Open Championship for the 10th time. And in the previous 9 times, the eventual winner was in first, second, or third after the first day, 6 times of those last 9 times it was here. And so you look at Daniel Brown up there, tied with Shane Lowry. Justin Thomas has been within shouting distance here. And how about one time for Daniel Brown, by the way, making his way here too. He spent a bunch of time on some of the smaller tours and actually made it here. So the Open Championship over there is a lot like the U.S. Open here, where the longest day in golf, you have all these qualifying events and chances for people to get in over here. He had gotten in by sinking a 20-foot birdie putt in the qualifying round that he played in to avoid having to go to a playoff in that and qualify for this. So he's like the 273rd ranked golfer in the world, coming out here and just getting hot at the right time.
Yep, he entered the week 273rd in the world. He's now the highest ranked golfer to lead a major championship after the first round since 2016. He's the only player in the last 3 decades to shoot a bogey-free round of 65 or better in his first major cut. He's only made 1 cut in his last 8 starts. So that's what you wonder about, a guy getting hot at the right time, and can you sustain it? That's going to be the key. He's, I think, played through 8 today, and he's 1 over for the day, as we talked about, tied with Shane Lowry. So, you look for the names up there that and then who are the upstarts? A Daniel Brown, or maybe an amateur every now and then, or a guy maybe you don't know as well. Can they hold it for 4 days?
Well, and at this course specifically, you've got a better chance of this because this is not a comeback course. Like, this is not a place where you're going to see. And that stat that I read you sort of belies that. It's not an easy place to try and make your way back up top. So good luck to Daniel Brown. I find myself rooting for Shane Lowry almost solely because he's a thick king with a great accent.
Yes.
Who doesn't love that? But we'll wait and see as we head into the rest of the weekend that, again, we talk about devoid of some of those same names that we have usually heard as Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson, and the rest of this group age out of an incredibly difficult golf course. Speaking of thick kings, though, coming up next, training camp rolling on this weekend. Kaden Wallace, potential Patriots starting tackle, joins us to talk about his rookie training camp coming up next. right, we've been talking a lot about training camps, reporting, and we get to talk to one of the guys who's actually going to camp here. Kaden Wallace, kind enough to join us here. Patriots third-round offensive line pick out of Penn State. And Caden, take us through the feelings right now, man. You're getting ready to walk into your first NFL training camp. What's going through your mind?
Lots of excitement. I'm just ready to get out there, get after it, put some pads on. It's been a while since I had some pads on, and just be able to show my talent and be able to work with my teammates. So this is looking good. I'm excited.
So as you prepare, we came on air, it's been 40 years since I went to my first training camp. And the one piece of advice I can give is don't take too many clothes because you're just flat out not going to need them. So I don't know what your packing situation has been like just yet, though.
That's pretty good advice. I'll keep it down to some sweats and some T-shirts, not bring too much.
So what other advice have you gotten? You've gone through the offseason program at this point with this group. We know for the Patriots this year, offensive line has been one of the big focuses that people have talked about. So what has your experience so far been like in this offensive line room getting ready for this season?
Yeah, I mean, I have really good vets in my room, and so they give great advice. Having David Andrews around, a guy who's been in the league for a long time, has a couple Super Bowls under his belt. He gives me great advice, just continue to be a sponge and pick up all the information I can and just lock in, really keep my head down and work. That's what it's all about.
So for someone like you had 40 starts at right tackle in college at Penn State, and then you go through the combine, which has nothing to do with football. You're just jumping and all that kind of thing. And then you can start working on actual football again. In your eyes, what's the biggest thing you wanted to improve upon in your game before you start at the next level?
Well, something I worked throughout the combine process was my hand speed, my hand placement, and then getting here, working through OTAs. That's been a major focus for me. And then just continuing to be a fluid player, playing on the left side, right side, wherever the coaches need me to play at, and just taking my game to the next level. That's been something that I've been focused on for a really long time now.
Have they had you focusing on one position? What have they told you about where you'll be competing going into camp?
I've been kind of moving around, left tackle, right tackle, and just really, like I said, doing whatever my coaches need me to do. If they want me at left, I'll play left. If they want me at right, I'm happy to be at right.
Speaking of your coaches here, Gerard Mayo's taking over for an all-time great in Bill Belichick. You obviously weren't there for Coach Belichick's tenure in camps there, know of him being around football. What have your early impressions been of Coach Mayo now that he's in the driver's seat for this program?
We love Coach Mayo. Coach Mayer, he's a player's coach. And having a guy that's played in the league before, he kind of knows our struggles. He also knows what makes us great. And so being able to play underneath him has been awesome. He's a really great guy, but even a more amazing coach.
So as you were growing up, obviously I said Penn State, grew up in Jersey in high school. As you were playing, who were some of the guys in the league that you kind of looked at and said, yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking to emulate?
So I'm an O-line guy. I love watching guys who play O-line. Trent Williams, Tyron Smith, Ryan Ramczyk, some older tape from Larry Allen. And so just being able to, watch guys like that, I've been able to emulate that and put that into my game. And so that helps me out a lot.
No, I can imagine. There's a lot of incredible names you just mentioned. One of the other interesting things, you mentioned Tyron Smith, that made me think your teammate from Penn State, Olu Fashanu, heading over there to try and help them out in the same division. So I'm curious, what are Jets fans getting in Olu, a guy that you played alongside there, was your opposite tackle mate in that Penn State offensive line that was certainly one of the best in college football?
Yeah, I mean, they're getting a smart guy, a really hard worker, someone who, like I said, comes to work every day and just puts it all on the line. So me and Olu still communicate really often, and so that's my guy. And we're both kind of looking forward to this training camp and, being able to carry on what we did in college and the league. So I'm excited for both of us.
While it hasn't happened yet in the NFL, what are you anticipating to be some of the, we always talk about the transition from college to the pro. It's a specialty position, wide receiver, something, maybe speed. What are you expecting some of the biggest differences that you're going to see going to the next level?
I've already experienced a little bit of the speed of the game transition from college to OTAs. And so really, like I said, once we put pads on, the game changes a little bit. So that's what I'm really looking forward to. I'm excited to really, take this sport to the next level and be able to grind with guys that are the best at their positions.
Listen, and you're going to be expected to do that early. Being a third-round pick, that comes with a lot of expectation, but you've also got a guy in your rookie class in Drake May who was a first-round pick at quarterback, and that obviously is the glamour position and certainly the CEO position of so many teams in the NFL. What stood out to you so far through the offseason program about Drake as he gets ready for this transition?
Drake's smart. Drake's a smart guy. He's a calm, cool, and collected type of guy. And he's kind of like very similar to Olu, to where he just comes into work, he puts his head down, he works. Like he's a real grinder. And I'm just excited to be able to block for the guy. I mean, he does some pretty good things. So I'm excited.
So we always talk about preparing for what you're going to do, in your case, football, offensive line. Is part of that preparation, do we see video of you playing dodgeball in prepping?
Oh, yeah. I'm a big dodgeball guy. We did some community outreach in the city not long ago, and those kids wanted to play some dodgeball, so I showed them how to play dodgeball.
So we've seen this to be a theme throughout the offseason. So many players are great and give back and going either through camps or events like this are around the kids. And we see all the time one-on-ones at these camps where these NFL players have to make the decision of whether they're going to let the kid get over on them or go out there and humble them a little bit. So your approach, I want to be clear in all these situations, is all gas, no brakes, even playing games with kids.
If the kids want to play, I'll show them how to play. If that's what you guys want to do, we could do it.
Dude, you're a big target, though. I mean, how's the catching ability of the ball? Because that's got to be a tough call.
I'm nimble, so I'm moving around. I'm dodging. I carry 2 balls. I have a 2-ball method, and so then I'm tossing ball. I'm hitting. Catching. I do it all. I really do it all.
All right. You want dynamic. He's a chameleon here. You mentioned that kind of game. I'm curious because I feel like everyone right now coming off being a college football player, the video game just dropped. Are you in on that at all? As someone who didn't get to be in the game yourself, much like I wasn't, or people haven't been since 2014. Have you been dialed in on that at all since it dropped?
I have not. I'm not a huge video game guy. I will be getting the game in the future, but I haven't even owned the console. I haven't owned a PS4 or Xbox, and I don't even know how long. So I'm definitely going to get on it soon.
Caden, I'm telling you, don't do it. You're going to then all of a sudden, all your time is going to be in front of the console playing. You're better off not doing it. But peer pressure, I think, is going to get you, right? Because everybody's going to be playing this thing.
I gotta strap up this Penn State one more time,
So I wanted to ask you about that for the actual on-field Penn State team, not even just the virtual one, but you guys certainly have been a perennial double-digit win team in the Big Ten in recent years under James Franklin. It didn't get over the mountaintop last year in terms of it, but coming into this season, the guys that you all just played with, what should people expect out of the 2024 Penn State squad from what you've seen and the guys you know are coming back?
I think we got some good stuff working. Especially with the new conference expansion and the new schedule, I just think Penn State is going to be a good year for us this year. We got some great guys coming back. Drew Aller's coming back. Our awesome running backs are coming back. We have great guys on defense. We have a solid O-line. I think the sky's the limit for us.
Drew Aller, do you think he can be a Sunday guy in terms of his ability as a quarterback?
100%. 100%. Drew Aller, he's a lead quarterback if I've ever seen him. He's like that.
Incredible stuff. Well, listen, Caden, we're pumped for you as you get ready to go on this journey here. We're glad to see that you've taken some time out to still give back in the community around there. We know that's something that's important to you, and certainly want to always make sure we highlight that work there. So thank you so much for that. Best of luck heading into camp, man. We're all rooting for you.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Speaking of Sunday arms, best ball rolls along with quarterbacks next.
guys, welcome back to GoJo and Golic, everybody. It is best ball week here at DraftKings. So all week we have been ranking each position to get you ready for those best ball drafts, and we're going to continue the trend going. As a reminder, let me tell you some things about best ball, key features, best things. So 12-round snake draft, just like regular season-long fantasy, the draft is the best part. Okay, pick your squad and roll with it. Roster management, there's no drops, trades, lineup switches, okay? The top performers on your team just get the points. The duration, points rack up for as long as the contest lasts. Some are 4 weeks, others all season, so you decide on each tournament. So we've done running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, and breakout candidates. So today, we're going to wrap it up with the position that you've all been waiting for, okay? We're doing quarterbacks. Fellas, we're talking QBs. The consensus on this, you guys, you feel like you have pretty much the same people here, but maybe we're going in a different order?
Potentially here, but Jesse's right. It's, I think, largely looked at as the same group of names up near the top of this. And, a lot of people ask what differentiates a quarterback in these, especially for fantasy best ball. If you're new here, if you haven't played before, the premium paid on quarterbacks who've got rushing ability cannot be overstated. And that's why, Dad, you look up at this list, and I think for most everybody, you and I included, it's going to be some form of Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, and then that fifth spot could get a little wonky. I would have CJ Stroud in there as that number 5 spot there, but for other people, that could be a little bit different. Anthony Richardson as a guy coming online, his second season, all that rushing ability in Shane Steichen's offense. So how would you organize the top 5 of the quarterbacks that we've talked about here?
I had made it between Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, but there's part of me that would maybe slide Jalen Hurts ahead of Lamar from the fantasy standpoint. Josh and Jalen both had 15 rushing touchdowns. I mean, that's and I think Jalen, I think, had one more passing touchdown than Lamar. So I may separate that by the rushing touchdowns by Jalen to put him second, to put Josh first and Jalen second and Lamar third, because you're right. I mean, this is about not only the guys passing, but them running as well, rush yards, touchdowns, and Josh and Jalen got in the end zone an awful lot.
So I would say I can understand why that might be the case. The thing that gives me pause with Jalen Hurts going into this season, though, is I'm not sure what that's going to look like, the design quarterback rush stuff in Kellen Moore's offense, because we've heard ad nauseum this offseason, right? About 95% of it's different. And so I don't know if it's going to be as much gun quarterback read centric run as we saw in the prior iterations of this with this Philly team in the last couple of seasons. That's the only thing that gives me pause. The reason I would have Lamar Jackson at number 1 ranked above all these guys is just looking at last year as they made the switch to Todd Monken's offense, who's back again this year as the offensive coordinator. For Lamar Jackson, they also lost Mark Andrews for a lot of the year, so the offense changed shape a little bit too. But during that time period, Lamar Jackson had career lows on designed runs. There were only 63 carries for designed runs according to Next Gen Stats last season, and a career low on rushing yards on designed runs. Even posting career lows, Dad, he was still second among quarterbacks in both categories, and he was first in basically every meaningful category when it came for scramble runs. He was first with 80 scramble carries. He was first with 589 scramble yards, first and third downs, all the above. So even on a season where the offense did transition to a bit more of a passing attack, where you got that added bump in production from Lamar Jackson, and where he was seeing a career low in the design carries for him in this offense, he was still amongst the leaders. And so coming off an MVP season with that continuity with Todd Monken coming back and a host of weapons around him now that he can build on, I do think that there's still more great production for Lamar this season.
Yeah, listen, I get that. And I'm not the monster fantasy player like others are, but I just see the rushing touchdowns that Josh and Jalen get while throwing, as many touchdowns as Lamar. I wonder how both will be affected, both Lamar and Jalen, with the new running backs, right? Saquon Barkley going to Philadelphia and Derrick Henry and his diet going to Baltimore, on how that may affect these quarterbacks and their numbers. That's something that I'll be interested to see.
what that share looks like and how these offenses sort of change to reflect that is going to be huge. Josh Allen is another guy I think benefits from the offensive change that we saw with Joe Brady coming over. It's why I'd have him right behind Lamar Jackson in terms of this. Dad, you look at weeks 1 through 10 before they made that change. Remember, they were 500 in the middle of the season. We thought they were going to miss the playoffs there. On design quarterback runs, Josh Allen had 12 carries for 3 touchdowns and 4 first downs. Weeks 11 through 15, 10 carries, 2 touchdowns, 7 first downs as that started to have the uptick there. He was a guy that had more design rushing attempts, was an incredibly efficient scrambler. Mina Kimes had one of my favorite stats last year about Josh Allen, because I saw Nick Wright and some other people having some disagreements about Josh Allen's place in the quarterback hierarchy. 51.5% of Josh Allen's rushes last year. So over half of the time that he carried the football, either as a scramble or a design run, went for first downs that season. By far the most, just incredible production from him every time he takes off. And when that offense transitioned to being more run first in the back half of the season, it was driven largely by him. He had 10 rushing touchdowns in the red zone on non-quarterback sneaks. So Jalen Hurts had 15 rushing touchdowns, but he had the tush push to go along with it. Josh Allen's done a lot more of these from distance than his counterpart, even though he gets the label of being a goal line merchant.
Two guys that I think could be interesting are Anthony Richardson and Jaden Daniels, right? Anthony Richardson played 4 games last year and had 4 rushing touchdowns. So that's pretty good average right there for what he did before he hurt his shoulder and was done. So he's an interesting one to me. And then I talked about him the other day with maybe a breakout of Jaden Daniels, the quarterback for Washington. He's going to get his opportunity, certainly throwing the ball, but we know he ran for over 1,000 yards at LSU. So his potential, as you mentioned, with the quarterbacks in fantasy, it's what they can do running the ball as well. And Jaden ran very well. I know everybody's worried about, oh my God, he's more slight. Is he going to get hurt? We had the same thoughts about Lamar Jackson. And the only time Lamar Jackson's been hurt is when he gets hit in the pocket, not when he's running the ball. So let's wait and see. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. But those are two quarterbacks in Daniels and Richardson that, really you wonder where they're going to end up on the fantasy side here.
Yeah, Jaden Daniels is the intriguing one because he was overwhelmingly the best rushing quarterback in college football last year and one of the best that we've seen in a while. I think the difference in style between him and Lamar is noteworthy. Jaden's a high runner, upright runner, and he puts his body in harm's way a lot. It's the biggest thing that's going to have to change about his game at the next level if he wants to go and be able to rush as consistently. Because the one thing about Lamar, dude doesn't take hits. Kind of like prime Russell Wilson was great at avoiding contact. Lamar Jackson has that same ability in the open field. So I absolutely think those guys could be splash players there. So again, my list, I would go Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen at 2. I know some of the stuff's been trending down with Patrick Mahomes. I'd have him 3 last year. Still great at avoiding sacks. Still great at getting the ball into the end zone when it matters the most here. The Mahomes-led Chiefs led the NFL with 33 dropped passes and 390 expected yards on drops. It was, including the playoffs, the most in the NFL. I can't imagine it's going to be that bad 2 years in a row. They've done some to try and upgrade the receiver talent there. And then I'd round out the top 5 with Hurts, and I'll throw C.J. Stroud in there. I think with a healthy receiving core down there, maybe an added element to the run game if Joe Mixon can help jumpstart that among a shuffled offensive line. If that gets better and this offense actually gets that other phase added, this could be somehow an even deadlier season from a quarterback that seems so great his rookie year.
So high expectations on Stroud in Houston now after what they did, and deservedly so, but you just wonder, can it hold again? Because they technically on paper, they got better, right? So are we going to see better on the field? I have him 5th as well. I just flip-flopped the top 2, Josh and Lamar, as far as 1 and 2. And then I did have Jalen 3rd ahead of Pat Mahomes and then CJ 5th. So to me, like I said, we have the same guy. So it's always intriguing to me is who do you take that chance on? Like I said, is it an Anthony Richardson? Is it I'm drawing a blank now, Jaden Daniels?
No, completely. That is your decision to make. You can compete in our biggest fantasy contest ever, crowning 2 millionaires this season. Score daily rewards by playing the NFL Best Ball $15 million millionaire contest. Opt in and enter the contest today, and we'll tell you about the deal coming up next. 2 of GoJo and Golic here. Mike Golic Jr., Mike Golic Sr., Jesse Cofield back at the DraftKings studio in Boston. Plenty of fun still coming up on the show. Anna Hall, Olympic heptathlete, going to join us now. An incredible story of perseverance for her in her Olympic career, just 23 years old, getting ready to go rep the country as one of the best athletes, as we'll talk about, on the planet, given the nature of the event. Plenty coming up with the WNBA All-Star game that we have to look ahead to this weekend as the league is riding a crazy high right now. We just finished up with some best ball in the last segment. We've been covering it all week and just want to make sure you guys know how to get in on the action today. Again, DraftKings is crowning 2 millionaires this season in their biggest best ball fantasy contest ever. Score daily rewards by playing in the NFL Best Ball $15 million millionaire contest. In today's bonus, you can opt in and enter the NFL Best Ball 15 million millionaire 2 more times today and earn an extra millionaire contest ticket. That's max 2 redemptions per player. All tickets earned will be credited on Saturday, July 20th. So make sure you check that out as you try and build it out. Best ball is a ton of fun. We'll try and get something going here with the show at some point, I'm sure, on that. But we're going to see a lot of great ball this weekend, Jesse. The WNBA All-Star game is upon us. Everyone heading out to the Footprint Center in Phoenix to go, get warm and get ready to gear up and watch this whole Team USA versus WNBA All-Star thing.
Yes, sold out crowd at the Footprint Center. And so today we're going to take a look at WNBA All-Star MVP odds on DraftKings in our Trash It or Cash It section. So it is presented by DraftKings. Stay tuned because you will hear more about DraftKings and all it has to offer throughout the show. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Age and eligibility restrictions apply. Void where prohibited. That's an important part. See DraftKings.com for details. So, guys, take a look right here. You can see the odds. Our girl, Caitlin Clark, she is at plus 1,000, coming in third. Top 3, Asia Wilson, Sabrina Ionescu. So we got plus 475, plus 850, plus 1,000. Everybody, anybody going with Caitlin Clark at plus 1,000 here? Come on, the long shot. I mean, she's top 3.
It's an interesting motivation play here because, again, for anyone that's parachuting in right now, the format for the All-Star game as we're getting ready for the Paris Olympics is to have Team USA play the remaining WNBA All-Stars on this roster. And so for the Team USA team, it is the great players you would expect, a lot of the aces, Chelsea Gray, certainly Asia Wilson, the expected MVP, Jackie Young on there, in addition to Diana Taurasi, Brianna Stewart, Kelsey Plum, Jewel Lloyd, Sabrina Ionescu, Brittany Griner, all of them going up against Caitlin Clark, Arike Ogunbowale, Nneka Reese, and Angel Reese. The hype going in that Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, always pitted against each other, finally get to be teammates. So it's an interesting undercurrent to this, Dad, to try and game out who might have the motivation in a game like this to show out enough to win WNBA MVP in the All-Star game. So who are you picking?
You know how we talk about Caitlin Clark, everybody talked about the snub to the Olympic team. You know, another person can jump in that conversation, Mike. It's our domer, Arike Ogunbowale. She's the 3rd leading scorer in the NBA. There's only 4 players averaging over 20 points, and she's one of them, 3rd in the league. Now, her team, the Dallas Wings, are the worst in the league. They only have 6 wins, but she's averaging over 23 points a game. And she's one that could have had a say to be on this Olympic team, quite honestly. If there was a guard, you know, we talked about Chelsea Gray and her foot injury. If she couldn't have been on it, Arike probably had more of a resume to say she should be on the Olympic team than Caitlin Clark, taking away, obviously, the optics of Caitlin Clark and the eyes she's brought to the WNBA. I get it. I'm talking about basketball play, even though Caitlin Clark has been going off in the assists, even though she does lead the league in turnovers as well. So I'm going to go, Arike Ogunbowale is tied with Brianna Stewart and Brittany Griner as far as odds at plus 1,500, tied for 7th as far as, you know, where you land in winning the MVP. So I'm going to go with her. I'm going to say she goes off in this game and she's going to go ahead and get the MVP.
That would put her in pretty rarefied air. So Arike Ogunbowale won the 2021 WNBA All-Star Game MVP as well. And in the history of the All-Star Game in the W, and it's been going on since 1999, there are only 3 women so far who have won WNBA All-Star MVP multiple times. Lisa Leslie, Swin Cash, and Maya Moore. So a murderer's row of some of the greatest names in the history of the sport, that if Arike were to notch this, she'd be alongside Kelsey Plum, also a former winner, as is Jewel Lloyd. So a few people that have a chance to potentially join those ranks there. Dad, again, thinking about motivation, someone seemed extra spicy at certain points in this season. And Sabrina Ionescu of the New York Liberty is the one that I'm picking there. Now, she's second in the odds behind A'ja Wilson at plus 850. So it's not a massive stretch, but you look at the tear that she is rolling into the All-Star break on. She scored 30 points in a win against the Connecticut Sun on Tuesday to cap off before the break. She made 6 threes in that game, became just the third player in WNBA history to now have a three-pointer in 50 straight games. She was the Eastern Conference Player of the Week from July 8th to the 17th, and in that time, she averaged 25 points per game, 5 rebounds per game, 5 assists per game, and 1.5 steals per game, shooting an absolutely red-hot percentage there. She's the only Eastern Conference player to score at least 20 points in each of her games. Her current 5-game 20-point streak is the longest of her career. So she has been flying high on here, and I think she keeps this rolling into the All-Star game. I think she's seen all the hype around Caitlin Clark and everything else that's gone on and say, hey, I do the long ball stuff too. I was the triple-double machine in college, and I've also been someone doing it at a high level in the WNBA so far.
Yeah, that's a good one as well. I look forward to the game. As I said, it's going to outrate the NBA All-Star game. Just with the storylines here. You look at, as I mentioned, Caitlin Clark leading the league in assists. So she's going to be dumping the ball down low to Angel Reese, who's got the record for consecutive double-doubles. And then Angel Reese on the other side is going to be grabbing rebounds and kicking it out to Caitlin to start the transition up the court. These two are going to be teammates in an All-Star game for years to come, and they're going to be teammates, I would imagine, starting on the next Olympics as well. So it's just great storylines in the WNBA now.
Well, there are great storylines, and you're right. The headline of that getting to go, the headline of Caitlin Clark not making the U.S. women's national team for the Olympics and now getting to play against them is a huge storyline. One thing that people are talking about, though, Dad, and I'm interested in your opinion on this because we talk about the growth of the game right now. We'll get to the television rights numbers that are expected to skyrocket, but just by any conceivable metric, whether it's been television ratings, whether it's been the WNBA All-Star voting, and now the new rights deal, this league has been a rocket ship. And there are opportunities along the way to continue growing that. And one thing people looked at was the three-point contest. How do you feel about Caitlin Clark and Sabrina Ionescu both opting to not participate in that contest this weekend?
I mean, like just like in the NBA, contests they have, the skills competitions, you'd like to have the names, right? And Ionescu, remember, she went against Steph Curry at the NBA All-Star game, so this would seem a little bit of a drop down to do it in just her league's game. And Caitlin Clark is known for her logo 3. So, of course, you wanted to see these two battle. But we've wanted to see guys like LeBron in the slam dunk contest and others who in the last decade or so we haven't seen. We used to get all those guys way back when. Now you don't. So I look at it just like the NBA. I'd like to see the name people do it. I wish, Jesse, they were doing it, but they're not. So, I mean, that's just something you got to live with.
It goes to what I said yesterday. Caitlin Clark's just trying to keep her head down, living in fear. She's like, keep my head down. Don't want to get in trouble. Don't want to draw too much attention to myself. Yeah, that's why.
It has been a chaotic year for her on that front. Listen, she's had her words every which way, and even the time she hasn't said words, all of a sudden taken up and used by bad actors to try and further their own agendas in a way that's got to be pretty jarring if you're the person at the center of all this who just wants to play ball. But it is disappointing that they're not in there. Like, we can't sugarcoat that. It would be incredible for the All-Star weekend to have Sabrina, who won the Women's All-Star contest last year in the three-point contest, in addition to participating against Steph.
Right.
I think she's second in the league in made threes with 74. Caitlin Clark is tied for third with 71. You've got two of the best young shooters in the game in a contest that's not all that physically taxing. Like, I understand it requires some effort here. You could give me some of the rest going into the All-Star break thing, especially for Sabrina since she's on Team USA, but that really only goes so far. It seems like a missed opportunity and something left on the table here.
I don't think it personally has anything to do with rest and what it may take out of them. I think, Mike, it's just like some of these guys in the dunk contest. It's what do you have to gain or to lose? And that's because she won it last year. And if she were to lose to a rookie, if she wins it, it's like, well, you won it last year. It's not shocking you won it this year. If you lose, you lost to the upstart rookie. And for Caitlin Clark, comes in as the all-time leading everything scorer in college, known for her logo threes, to come in and say, this is what she's known for, and if she were to lose. So I think it's more about thinking about what you have to lose as what you have to gain. And as fans, we just want to see them compete. But I think there's a thought process to some of the competitors in going into it.
I don't know. Caitlin Clark seems to me, like I said, she's trying to keep her head down. You saw the video of her on the red carpet. She was trying to dodge the cameras. She was trying to get out of dodge. They literally were trying to take photos of her, and she was trying to sneak through. And then someone grabbed her and pulled her back and was like, you got to stand here and smile and tell us what outfit you're wearing. But I think it was a Armani dress. She had Versace shoes on, I know that, and a Versace bag. She looked great.
Listen, folks in the W be dressing. There is no doubt about that.
Yes.
The fits are off the charts. It is incredible stuff. It is incredibly compelling content. So that part, A1. It is interesting, though, because we're sitting here talking about this, and we do this all the time. I get it with like the dunk contest and stuff like that. What do these guys have to gain? But I mean, we're talking about hyper competitors here. Both of these women, Sabrina and Caitlin, are insane, bloodthirsty competitors at their core. And the idea that they would turn down work because one's afraid of getting shown up by the other is wild to me. I'd be curious because the W came out and said, we invited both of them to do this. Like, they made it abundantly clear. This wasn't an us problem. This was them turning this down. And I'll be interested in, at any point along the way this weekend, during some media availability or what have you, if we get a coherent explanation about why they're not competing in this. Because just at the juncture we're at right now, it doesn't seem like the point yet where your stars should be turning down work when it comes to opportunities to draw eyeballs on weekends that are supposed to. We talk about with these All-Star games all the time, celebrations of the game. Open it up to a broader audience of the sport. This will probably be, to Dad's point, the most watched WNBA All-Star game of all time. Probably one of the most watched All-Star events of the season in any of the major sports in North America. And this is not the be-all, end-all by any means. The game itself is going to go crazy, and we're all going to watch. It just seems like this would have been really cool and is a bit of a missed opportunity, and that's okay to admit.
I agree. I completely agree of where they are now in their growth. They've been growing, but they've taken a big jump, you know, as we get into media rights and things like that, of where they are. So I do think this was a great opportunity to have your best out there doing it. And they didn't. But, you know, Mike, people are going anyway. The most expensive ticket was $50,000. $50,000 was the most expensive ticket. The cheapest ticket was $122. Last year at the All-Star game, you could get a ticket a couple days before the event for $10. Now the cheapest is $122. So it's monetarily going in the right direction as well.
It is, and it's going to get real hard out here for anyone still hanging on to their hatred of women and trying to apply that to women's basketball, because with that new money coming out, we mentioned it the other day, but it bears repeating. The WNBA's new rights deal in conjunction. Again, remember, the NBA owns 60% of the WNBA. They've been someone that's helped this league get going in the early stages. And now we're seeing the benefit of that investment as the NBA's new media rights deal gets set to take off. The W media rights deal sets the league up to receive $2.2 billion over the next 11 years, almost 4 times annually what they had been valued at before, roughly $50 million annually on the current rights deal. And Dad, you'd expect that's a jump in salaries. That's a jump in the facilities and amenities. We've talked so much about team travel with the chartered flights in recent years and the way that's been getting off the ground, pun fully intended. And so now it seems like all of that going to continue to trend in the right direction and make this league the reward that it should be for the quality of the athletes we've been talking about.
Yeah, and then starting to reap some of those benefits. Well, like we say, monetarily, where will the money go? We talk about the rookies coming in and Caitlin Clark making $76,000. So where will the minimum go? And we also mentioned the first year of chartered flights, even though that got off to a wonky start. Hopefully that can be just the accepted now. Because listen, even the NBA went through that. I remember our guy Timmy Legler talking about walking through the airport. You know, when he was playing in the league, they were going on commercial flights. I mean, this isn't something that's just every, you know, that sport, even the NBA, just automatically had charter flights. It didn't work that way. They worked up to it. And did the WNBA need help? Yes, they did. It was obviously funded away and by the NBA to help, but they've grown. It's taken a bit, but they have grown incrementally, and now they're growing by leaps and bounds and bringing in that money. Again, I talked about last year or 2 years ago, they grossed $60 million. Last year, they grossed $200 million. So there's a huge jump there to where now the athletes should see that financially and also in facilities and the ancillary things where you would just expect first-class things, that it wasn't always for the WNBA. Now, monetarily, they're going to have the money to be able to do a lot of that.
And we see a lot of the crossover owners have decided, hey, we're going to invest meaningfully in a lot of this, and they're reaping the benefits. They're seeing this is an opportunity. This isn't some charity case here. This is a great place right now. One of the last few places, quite honestly, if you are a wealthy owner trying to get into these leagues, to have growth potential in this. We've seen Mark Davis do it with the Aces to great effect for a team that's now a multi-time champion. We just saw, as the Mercury get ready to host All-Star Weekend, Matt Ishbia and them opened up their new 58,000 square foot state-of-the-art performance center for the Phoenix Mercury. So you're seeing examples of it all around here now, Dad, and there's still more wiggle room to grow. One of the cool caveats with this deal is after 3 years, in good faith, both sides agreed to revisit it if things keep growing in the way that they're growing right now. And I mean, we can go all the way back to college, as we talked about Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark ad nauseum. We also acknowledge there's this incredible freshman class that just walked into women's college basketball. Paige Beckers, how often have we seen her on the sidelines of these games right now in the W supporting her teammates as everyone looks longingly at her after her big bounce back year last season? So this shows no signs of stopping down. It's awesome to see. It makes for not only, I think, too, now renewed interest right in the women's basketball model heading into Paris too. Like, oh, by the way, we're going to get our first look. We've been watching Team USA men in some of these tune-ups in the lead up to Paris. Now we get to watch the women in that same setting there in a way that's going to be fascinating.
Yeah, it is. It'll be fun to watch this group. Again, we expect gold in both the men's and the women's side without question. But I think this all in all is going to be a really good weekend for the WNBA between the skills competition and the game that's going to come up. I do like the matchup of the All-Stars against the women's team, the women's national team. I think that's even though it's a game that you're going to get a lot of shot. I don't know. I'm not going to lie, Mike. I don't know how competitive it'll be. I think it'll be more competitive than the NBA All-Star game and the way they run it, with these women going against the Olympic women. So I do think it'll be more competitive there. We've seen this happen another time, and I believe it was a 1-point game that the U.S. national team won. I think it was 73-72. So in all the complaints we get about all-star games, that there's really no competition and people aren't really trying, I think you'll get, I don't know if it's going to be all out 100% competitive, people going nuts here, but I think it's going to be more competitive than what we normally see in all-star games.
That was sort of my question, and what I was going to wonder was, what's the tempo going to be for this? Because I'm sure from the Team USA side, you want a good tune-up, but you don't want to risk anybody getting hurt, especially before you get set to head over to Paris. But again, competitors, all the undercurrents of people that we were left off talking about. And we know that point, even in the All-Star game, when we talk about in the NBA, where sometimes, especially when they did the Elam ending stuff, you'd see guys kind of lock in because everyone still innately wants to win. And will there be a point in this game where it'll get a little bit chippy, where all of a sudden it'll go from, oh, we're enjoying this send off for Team USA to I'm trying to bust somebody's ass out here?
I think that's what's going to happen because, like you said, too, there's just going to be a lot of eyes on this. Like, this is an opportunity for more people who are tuning in to see this to become interested in the WNBA and whatnot. So you got to imagine they want them to go out there and ball out.
I would imagine, I would think, but amongst players, it's going to be interesting. The PLL just had their All-Star game, Premier Lacrosse, and Jack Rowlett, one of their defenders, there was a big controversy because he got crossed up by the rookie Connor Schellenberg or something serious and was talking about what a tempo violation that was. I don't know what kind of code we're working with out here.
Listen, we got 9 players with 4 or less year All-Star appearances for the team playing against Team USA, and Olympics coming. So younger players, teams coming up, and another Olympics coming up in 4 years. So you don't think they want to show out and say, look what we did against your Olympians. So maybe next time around, I'm going to be an Olympian.
There's only one way to find out, and that's by tuning in and watching this weekend. Coming up next, we'll look at another high-level athlete making his return to glory as the new EA Sports College Football 25 game comes out.
Welcome back to GoJo and Golic. Jesse Cofield, Mike Golic Jr., Mike Golic Sr., and our long-awaited national nightmare is finally over. Today's the official release day of NCAA 25. Let's go! 11 long years. Of course, we know that some people, like GoJo, paid for the early edition of this game, have already logged countless hours playing the game. So we thank you for your service, GoJo. We know that you're doing that for all the dads out there, you said, who couldn't. So you're really just doing a service. But now we're going to play a little game here called Better Than Mike, okay? So we're going to give you 10 names from back when you were in NCAA 13, and you're going to tell us if they had a higher or lower rating than you. Now, these are ratings in the game which came out prior to the start of the 2012 season. So keep that in mind. Prior to the start of the 2012 season. Here's a look at your stats from the game. Okay, you were 79 overall. You just saw that up there. Let's see, 66 speed, strength 84, pass block 80, run block 80, impact blocking 79. So those are your numbers.
I'm going to tell you, the speed, impossibly accurate on this. No doubt what dragged me down. And it is worth noting, to Jesse's point, so at this point when the ratings were coming out, because I was a late bloomer, I started 17 games at Notre Dame, but 13 of those came in the 2012 season. So I had 4 starts at the end of that 2011 season to go off of for the ranking for this game, and they were very accurately able to ascertain that I was slow as hell. So, yeah, no notes. Flawless.
Okay, so basically we're going to run through some names. We're going to go back and forth, GoJo, between you and Senior, give you a chance to guess at these ratings here. So let's start with Ronnie Stanley. So, GoJo, this was your teammate at Notre Dame. In this game, it was his freshman season, okay, where he only appeared as a reserve in 2 games. But coming out of high school, he was the 11th ranked offensive tackle in the country. He now plays for the Ravens. GoJo, what do you think? Guess his rating.
Man.
Over or under? We'll make it easier for you. You don't have to do an exact number. We know your number.
I'm going to say, Ronnie, again, the 11th ranked tackle in the country. I was like the 4th ranked offensive lineman in Connecticut. So even saying I was a 79 there, I'll say Ronnie was over at that point.
Under at 72.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow.
I got that one right.
Damn, Rondell.
Yeah, look at the comparison there.
Yeah, I knew that was going to be under.
Oh, okay. Okay, Senior, well, you'll get your turn.
Great development player, Ronnie Stanley. That one really worked out pretty well for everybody involved. Went on to be, I believe, an All-American and a first-round draft pick. So life's been great for Ronnie. Awesome dude. Glad it's worked out well for him. He's the man. Okay,
Senior, you're up now. And we're going Khalil Mack here. So Mack was a junior this season at University of Buffalo. Earned all MAC first-team honors for the 2nd straight year. He would obviously go on to be drafted 5th overall by the Raiders in 2014. So over or under GoJo's ranking of 79?
Yeah, he was all MAC then for the 2nd straight year. It's going to be over.
And ding, ding, over. Yeah, by 1 point.
Ooh,
he was only an 80?
Only an 80.
Wow. Oh, see, the MAC disrespect is disgusting. We should have all been ashamed of ourselves. The new game knows ball a lot better than this, I would hope.
Okay, GoJo, we're going back to you now with the one and only Johnny Manziel. Okay, it was Manziel's freshman year at A&M. He'd go on to win the Heisman, becoming the first ever freshman, 2nd Aggie to do so. So over or under your score of 79?
Johnny had to be over this, right? He was getting ready. He was getting ready to be a starting quarterback. Oh no, he wasn't supposed to start that season, right?
No, it wasn't. He's under. He's under.
Yeah, it was under. It was under. I don't think he was supposed to start that season. Under.
All right, phone a friend, I guess. But yeah, you're right. 78.
Was he supposed to start that season? I don't even remember, but obviously it was going in. He was a total unknown wild card. That season was unbelievable. My teammate Manti Te'o finished 2nd to him in the Heisman. Go collect $200.
You see, Jesse, this is Dad helping my son out.
Yeah, that's called cheating. But
thanks, Dad.
All right, Senior. Aaron Donald. Yep. So it was Donald's junior season at Pitt. He was first-team All-Big East defensive tackle. 64 total stops. He was balling out, led the Big East, ranked 12th nationally in TFLs. So over or under 79? What do we think, Senior?
He was over. Should be well over.
He was under at 76.
Come on.
Yeah.
I tell people this all the time. while this season was where Aaron Donald popped off and started to really go crazy, his senior year was one of the scariest things I've ever seen. I'm so glad I wasn't around for it. My greatest career accomplishment as a football player is not winding up on Aaron Donald's draft day highlight reel. It's the thing we lived in fear of. A great buddy of mine, Eric Olson, who played offensive line for us before, ended up when he was playing on a high ankle sprain all over BJ Raji's draft day highlight reel. And from then on out, I was like, all right, we just can't get beat bad enough to wind up being the poster for somebody when they're about to go become a millionaire. And so I watched with bated breath when Aaron Donald finally went to go get drafted and breathed a huge sigh of relief, because that game in 2012, I survived without getting put in the remix tape.
Love that that's just stuck with you. Really, like, made an impression on you, on your soul.
The best thing I have.
Yeah.
He's the best football player I ever played against. So, yeah, I'll take that one.
All right, I love that. Now let's talk about the man, the myth, the legend, Travis Kelce, okay? Red shirt senior season for Travis at Cincinnati. Set the UC record for receiving yards by a tight end in a season. He was then drafted in the 3rd round by the Chiefs in 2013. So over or under a 79. What do we think, fellas? Or GoJo. Technically, it's supposed to be you answering this.
I'll go over for Taylor's boyfriend. I think he was already established enough at this point to be in the 80s.
You are correct, sir. He had an 82. Yep, that is correct.
These are all close scores, though. They're close.
Yeah.
I know. It's really amazing to see me right up there with some of these all-time greats here. No one should be surprised. We were all players of very comparable skill. Don't go back and check the tape. Ever. Please.
All right, guys, we're going to skip a few. We're going down to Amari Cooper here, okay, senior. So it was his freshman year at Alabama. As a freshman at Alabama, he played in all 14 games, including starts in the final 9 games. He led the team with 59 receptions for 1,000 yards, 11 touchdowns. In Alabama's 2013 BCS National Championship game victory, nobody here knows anything about that. Over Notre Dame, Cooper led Alabama receivers with 6 catches for 105 yards, 2 touchdowns. So, senior, over or under a 79?
I mean, this before that year that the ranking came out, or after that year that the ranking came out?
It was before that year, and it should still be higher.
It should still be over, but I have a thought it might be under, but I'll say over.
You should have gone with your gut. It was an under.
What?
73.
Yeah. Come on, man. What were we doing here? What kind of rating system was this game on? This is drugs. I need these people drug tested.
Well, it's a little late for that, but yep.
Also, by the way, I went along with a lot in the name of doing this fun game, and great job by our producers cooking all this, blah, 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 all the stuff I'm supposed to say. We really had to throw that one in there. We relive the rest of this stuff. I was fine being compared as the measuring stick for bad in this game, but we really have to relitigate the worst day of my life, or one of the worst days of my life so far. That's where you guys want to be when Jesus comes back, making fun of poor old Joe Dirt.
Yeah, we actually jumped down to that one to make sure that we could get in. Yeah. We were like, there's not going to be enough time. We better jump down to this one so we can embarrass GoJo. Everyone was in my ear like, quick, we gotta make GoJo hurt on camera. Get down there. So I just listened.
Did you guys score before halftime, or was it 28-0 at half? I can't remember.
I honestly can't remember either. I think that's one of those things. I haven't gotten to this level of therapy yet where we start getting to the really repressed stuff like that, but I'd imagine it's buried somewhere deep down in there. I remember very little other than the loser confetti in that game. It's why I turn off most trophy ceremonies before they get going. The Stanley Cup's about the only one I watch because it's cool and there's a handshake line, and because the cup is sick, because it's the cup. But I can't watch pretty much everything else. I get a little bit of PTSD because that loser confetti stings something serious.
Somebody needs some
28-0 at halftime. I just looked.
By the way, GoJo, you got 2. Senior, you got 1. So, if we're keeping score, you won something, GoJo. You won something. Okay.
There we go.
You're a winner, son.
Yeah. We're proud of you.
I'm a winner in life. Academic All-American and now a gas bag. Look at me go. Speaking of getting stomped out by the SEC, coming up next, It Just Means More. Gator great Anna Hall going to join us to look ahead to the games in Paris, and her road back from injury. Next on GoJo and Golic. as our Olympic coverage rolls along here, excited to welcome in our next guest, who you will see competing in the heptathlon in the upcoming Olympic Games in Paris. Anna Hall, kind enough to join us now. And Anna, we appreciate your time. I saw an incredible video of you after your qualifying in Eugene. You hit the track, you're overwhelmed with emotions. If you can bring us back to that moment and just walk me through what you were feeling and why that became such an emotional moment for you.
Yeah, finishing the 800, I just had so many emotions, I guess, going through my head. And I knew I was going to get a little bit emotional, like making an Olympic team for the first time, but I did not expect to be like basically sobbing on the track. Even during the race, actually, I was just thinking about all the different days of rehab and the really long days and the days where it kind of just felt like there was no light at the end of the tunnel. And where the sport honestly just felt like a marathon. Like I was like, can this even happen? And so I was just thinking of all those kind of different versions of myself. And I was just like, oh my goodness, like we made it. And so I feel like those emotions just flooded over me. Yeah, it was a very special moment for sure.
Oh, it was a great moment to watch, no doubt about it. And you know, you mentioned, I saw a great video with your dog Emma about Emma's always there for the highs and the lows. Were there like mental hurdles there of can I really, push on it, and can I really run on it? And where were you then?
Yeah. The mental hurdles I think were honestly harder than the physical ones. And yeah, like you said, my dog Emma was there through it all, and both surgeries, welcoming me home from the hospital, and was just ready to snuggle with me. And then, as I progressed through PT and things, and got clearance to run, like still running on the ground, it's like, yes, I'm allowed to do it, but it's scary and it still hurts a little bit. And then relearning how to trust my knee and all the different jumps in every single event. And, my left knee is my takeoff knee in high jump and long jump, and it's my block knee in javelin. Like it needs to do a lot. So that was definitely very scary and just hard, honestly, to work through. And so I definitely felt like I was brought like down almost to just like starting over completely, and had to build myself back up for sure.
Now, you're trying to do something for a U.S. woman in the Olympic Games that hasn't been done in quite some time in this particular event. And the last woman who did it, talk to me about how important Jackie Joyner-Kersee has been for you throughout this entire process as a veteran voice in your ear.
Yeah, she's been incredible. I mean, she's somebody I've looked up to since I started the heptathlon. Like that's the first name that comes to mind. My dad was like a huge fan of hers, so we grew up like dissecting her jump videos and just hearing about how awesome she is. And so getting to have her like in my corner and really on my team has been incredible. She's like such a great resource, and she'll text me even like randomly from time to time. And every time I have to like pinch myself that her name's like coming up on my phone, because I'm like, that's like insane. It'd be like if you're a basketball player and like Michael Jordan is texting you advice. Like she was there in Oregon watching and cheering on like just as loud as my mom was. And so I think I was so happy when I spotted her near the finish line and like got to run over and give her a hug. And yeah, it means a lot to have somebody who's been through it, advising you and just encouraging you along the way. So,
with the heptathlon, the decathlon, the athletes, whether male or female, you have a number of events, and it's a sport where a lot of times you see this is a sprinter, or this is a distance person, this is a weight person. At what point in your career, as you were really good in some of those, did you say, yeah, I'm going to do 7 events now, and call it a day?
Yeah, I tried my first heptathlon like my freshman year of high school, but I kind of got into it, I'd say, out of stubbornness. When I was doing track, I was a high jumper and a 1500 runner when I first started, and those like don't go together at all. And I didn't want to stop either of them, and I was pretty good at both of them. And so I had actually told my dad, I was like, I'm gonna be the first person to go to the Olympics in those 2 events, because like nobody's ever done that. And he was kind of like, I mean, I don't want to tell you like not to dream big, but like that's not a thing. And so he kind of steered me towards the multi and was like, why don't you try this where you get to kind of do everything? And then once I did my first one, I knew I was like, this is definitely what I want to do, where I can do everything and be at the track all day. So yeah.
So we sit there and look at the 7 events: 100-meter hurdles, high jump, shot put, 200 meters, long jump, javelin throw, 800 meters. So when you were working on this and becoming to this world-class part of it, there's that old adage, make your weakness your strength. What is the one event that you really had to work on the most?
Yeah. The most improved event for me is by far the long jump. That was an event. It was like my biggest athletic insecurity is what I used to call it. It had cost me so many records, so many wins, just messing up that event. And it didn't make sense. Like every coach was like, you're a really good high jumper and you're fast. Like there's literally no reason you shouldn't be good at this. But I just like couldn't figure it out. It was scary to me. I was always in my head about fouling and I'd take off behind the board. I just would find a way to mess it up until when I got to University of Florida, my current long jump coach, Coach Peterson, I always say I think he could convince a rock that it could jump far, because he like totally changed the way I thought about the event and was like, you could be an open long jumper if you wanted. And I'm like, I can barely do this in the multi. Like, what do you mean I could compete with the regular girls? And yeah, we just kind of dissected the event and had to completely change how I thought of it. And yeah, now it's one of my favorites. And it's when long jump is on, like that's such a big point grab for me. So that's been a cool transition to see.
Yeah, it's incredible what all the hard work can lead to here. And I know there's been no shortage of that for you in the lead up to this. So I'm wondering, everyone's got something they do in their downtime to kind of decompress. And correct me if I'm wrong, I read in an article that you're a huge Survivor fan.
Yes.
How did you get hooked up with a show that I believe is older than you are?
I'd have to ask my friends how they got hooked up with it, because they were talking about it all the time. And I had no idea what they were talking about. It sounded like they were talking another language, talking about tribal council and all this. And I was just like, okay. And so there's like a group of 12 of us that every single week we watch Survivor together. And we like draft our people the first episode, so you don't know anything about them yet. And it's kind of turned into a fun thing for our training group for sure.
Could you do it? The show?
I don't think so, honestly. We have that discussion a lot. I think honestly navigating the social game there would be difficult for a lot of us that are usually used to being around like people who think exactly like us. So I think I'd probably get sent home for probably accidentally saying something we shouldn't.
All right. Well, there you go. You know what? You've spent enough of your energy focusing on how to compete and win in one major event. So I think not being able to win Survivor is okay at this point, considering what you've got coming up for you again. Now, you mentioned might get sent home. Back at home for you, we talked about your dog, Emma, who's obviously super important to you here. So what can you tell us about the work that you've got going on with the folks at NULO here in the campaign you're a part of?
Yeah. It's been so fun to partner up with NULO ahead of Paris. And they have this amazing campaign, the Fuel Incredible campaign. And nutrition is something that's like super important for me as an athlete. So like the connection there was just so natural of knowing that, every day, like my job never turns off. Everything I put into my body, how much water, what types of food, like matters. And so being able to think about that for Emma too, of everything that we give her matters, and wanting her to be around to support me, hopefully not through any more surgeries, but for as long as possible. It's been really fun to get to know them and get to upgrade Emma's dog food for sure.
We are so happy with that. Just absolutely love animals, love dogs. So that is a very cool thing. I just have one more question. What's the goal in Paris?
The goal in Paris is I want to be in the fight for gold. I think everybody wants to leave with a gold medal around their neck. But for me, my goal always is to leave knowing that like I left nothing to chance. And it was like I did the absolute best I could. I turned over every single stone I could every single day in training, and I'll give it my best. And hopefully that equals a gold medal. And if it doesn't, then I can live with knowing that, I competed my heart out, and how it turns out is how it turns out.
Yeah, it's a beautifully put goal, and considering you're someone that's smashed most of your goals your entire life, I have no doubt that'll be a new one. While the rest of the athletes over here sit around and argue about who could do the other sports the best or which sport has the best athlete, you're actually going out there and competing in something that I believe says you're the best athlete. So congratulations on all the success. Best of luck in Paris. Safe travels. We're all rooting for you.
Thank you very much.
right, guys, time to finish off the show and the week the way we always do. This, that, and the third. 3 quick stories to send you into the weekend. Make sure you download, subscribe, rate, and review us. Leave us a 5-star rating and check us out live Monday through Friday from 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern on the DraftKings Network, our YouTube channel, Samsung TV Plus, Roku, all those fun places. If you miss us there, the best of GoJo and Golic's noon to 1 Eastern, wherever you hear VSiN on the radio. And if you miss us in any of those spots or our great guests, shout out to Patriots rookie tackle Kaden Wallace for spending some time with us as they get set to report to training camp today. And Anna Hall, U.S. Olympic heptathlete, getting ready to go and try and win us some gold over there in Paris, not Tokyo. That's where I was on vacation. If you missed any of them, make sure you download, subscribe, rate, and review, and get it wherever you get our podcast or right here after we get done on the DraftKings YouTube channel. Guys, speaking of stuff on God's internet, let's get to this. Sweet Jesus, the little freaks over at Major League Baseball ballparks have been at it again yesterday. The MLB Twitter account, which does the Lord's work bringing these to the masses, had 2 real saucy little numbers yesterday that came out. The first was from the Colorado Rockies. Their new ballpark food item of spaghetti and meatballs called Polar Pasta. It looks like spaghetti and meatballs on the surface, but underneath that is actually vanilla ice cream with donut holes, strawberry syrup, and mint. Dad, I am head over heels for this freaky little dish. Where are you at on this?
Oh, love it. I love when foods look like a cheeseburger or something is actually cake. You know,
yes.
and it looks like food, looks like food, but it's actually cake. I would devour that. I love ice cream.
Oh.
I love donut holes, so I would love this. Not a huge fan of the strawberry syrup, but I would get over it, and I would be just fine with it. I'm cool with that. Jesse, you got to be. Tell me you're not. I don't like the face you're making right now, Jesse.
No.
I would be down to get down with some ice cream and donut holes, but why we gotta make it look like spaghetti? You know, the people that have to make this stupid thing in the ballparks, they're like, God damn, they gotta like, they got a special machine where it like comes out all squiggly like pasta, and they're like,
honestly, and I bet it's a nightmare in line too. When I went to a Dodgers game last month, I got the churro helmet ice cream sundae, and it took them like a 5-minute stretch to make each one of them. It took them forever. This has to be an absolute nightmare for the folks in the ballpark. You are right about that one. And demand is going to be high. I do feel bad for them. What about this one, guys? The Royals have a new ballpark item called the Taste of the K Taco. It's a hot dog wrapped in a cheeseburger quesadilla with barbecue brisket, French fries, lettuce, onion, sriracha Cracker Jacks, and 816 sauce. It is an absolute franken food item, and that's my love language. I love combo food platters like this. I'm all in.
So there are things that you eat. I would eat this in a heartbeat, but then that's probably what it would stop is my heartbeat. There are things that you eat where you know you're going to pay the price. Right?
Yes.
Whether it's heartburn, whether it's other stomach issues that you're going to get, where something bad is going to happen when you eat something like that, yet you don't care, you eat it anyway. So I would eat that in a heartbeat, knowing full well a couple hours later I would be in some sort of distress.
Yeah, I'm doing my best to frown. The Botox isn't letting me frown too bad, but I'm doing my best to frown and raise my brows. Raising the brows.
That botulism's out
I'm
here.
a millennial woman, so I'm not going to drink out of a plastic water bottle, but I will get Botox in my forehead.
This is like somebody was like, is anybody going to match my freak? And all of you are raising your hands and saying yes. And you should be ashamed. I'm just saying. Honestly,
the one thing that seems superfluous is the sriracha Cracker Jacks. Those are just going to fall off. You're not going to be able to get those in as many bites as you want just from a true eater, but I love it for presentation. I love it for the idea. Jesse, let's get to that. Speaking of doomsday food scenarios.
Yeah, speaking of weird food stuff, Costco is selling a doomsday bucket. Literally called the Doomsday Bucket. So if you're trying to start your stockpile, the end days are coming. Right now, through July 28th, Costco is offering $20 off Ready Wise emergency food supply buckets, okay? So it was $99, it's $79 now. It's got 150 servings of food included in each kit, okay? The food is freeze-dried. It lasts 25 years. 25 years. So are either of you going to Costco and buying one of these suckers for the end times, the end days?
No.
No?
No, I'm not. Was there anywhere, did it mention the foods? I was looking through this, and I didn't see. Okay. I see now.
Stuff
all right,
that
so
should not be there.
80 entrees and sides, 30 breakfast servings, 40 drink servings that just need water to prepare for a total of 25,280 calories. The meals range from teriyaki rice, tomato basil soup, pasta Alfredo, cheesy macaroni, and apple cinnamon cereal. So you're not going to get real brand cereal in there. You're getting the Costco brand, but it's still going to be included.
I love the a beverage simply referred to as orange drink. I wonder if that's the old days, and people my age will know the word Tang. That I wonder if it's
the kick in a glass.
I would not be buying this. And listen, I'm a foodie. I love food, but I'm not just buying the. Oh, you buy it and I guess just put it to the side because it lasts 25 years. I'm not the doomsday person, Mike, you are, that is going to be ready to take on all creatures. So I'd imagine this is something you would buy.
Senior, you just got into this being like, I'm a foodie. This isn't about being a foodie. This is about, like, the end days are here and you got to survive on the powdered food.
It's a different kind of foodie.
Oh, what?
My whole thought process about the apocalypse is I'm going to take out as many zombies as I can before I get taken out. So I'm not going to have to worry about 25 years worth of food. I'm just going to go whole hog, trying to knock off as many heads as I possibly can until I meet my maker.
Damn.
You're worried about taking out zombies. I'm worried about making sure that I can survive when takeout isn't an option. You and I are not the same. Jesse, let's get to the third and let's talk about sleep.
All right. There's been a troubling new sleep study that came out from the Stockholm University revealing that just 2 nights of restricted sleep can make individuals feel over 4 years older. So basically, you participate in this sleep survey, you get 2 nights of 4 hours of sleep, and you find out that makes you feel very bad. Meanwhile, they also found out 9 hours of sleep makes you feel very good, makes you feel younger. I don't know is there something groundbreaking about this? I feel like we knew this, that if you don't get enough sleep, it's bad for you.
Yes, there are some things, money went into this, right? Yeah. Somebody spent money to tell us if you don't get enough sleep, you won't feel too good. If you get enough sleep, you'll feel good. Are you? And we wasted money. Someone got rich on this somehow, some way. This blows my mind of the common sense thing here.
Our government uses sleep deprivation to torture people, but we still had to do this study to find out that it's real bad for the body if you don't get sleep.
The audacity to put this study out the day that EA Sports College Football 25 becomes available to the masses, and you have a bunch of people in their 30s and going into their 40s, not like I am. I am in my 30s. I'm not that old, but people like in my age range all of a sudden going back to sleep deprivation to give their time to this game. I got senior day coming up against Temple. You know how many recruits we've got in town for this one? I'm sorry to our producer, Billy, but we're getting ready to beat the Owls like a drum. I'm probably going to have to burn the midnight oil for that tonight. You got to go overtime while these recruits are in town. Plan which parts of campus I'm going to take them so it aligns with their interest in recruiting. And that's going to require me giving up some sleep. And now you want to make me feel bad about it. Stockholm University.
So that's self-induced. That's on you. There's nobody at fault there but looking in the mirror. Like last night, I woke up and was awake for 2 hours, and I don't know why. I didn't want to be. So I'm going to feel like crap today. You are choosing to eschew sleep to play a video game. So, man, what you reap, you sow, or what you sow, you reap. Whatever that saying is, whatever you do, it happens to you, and it's your fault type thing.
Boy, you had just been riding such a high using a shoe the way that you did, only to hit the ultimate low there.
I did.
And make a bad choice, just like I did.
Lack of sleep
deprivation might be a bad choice. Choosing this show never is. Make sure you download, subscribe, rate, and review us. I got there. Leave us a 5-star rating. And check us out Monday through Friday, live 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern. I'm going to get out of here before I have to say more words. Have a great weekend. I love y'all. We'll talk to you Monday.